Have you ever had this feeling? You look at the clock, it's 11:47 p.m. You were supposed to practice English tonight, but you've been scrolling for an hour. Again, you whisper to yourself, what's wrong with me? But deep down you already know, it's not about time, it's not about English, it's about attention. And who's controlling it? What if I told you your phone didn't just steal your focus? It slowly stole the version of you who speaks clearly, who walks into interviews with confidence, who says yes to opportunities in English because you were ready. But here's the twist. The phone didn't steal your dreams, your habits did, and the same way they took your progress, they can also give it back. Because every time you choose focus over distraction, every time you read one line in English before touching your phone, every time you speak one sentence with full presence, your brain starts to change, and your future does too. This isn't just a video, this is a turning point. The moment you reclaim the focus that fluency demands, and the identity your future needs. There was a morning not too different from any other. He opened his eyes, and his fingers reached for the phone before his mind had even fully returned from sleep. Instagram, YouTube, messages, memes. Before he even stood up, his mind was already full, but full of other people's lives. Before he had the chance to live his own day, he was already consumed by theirs. That's when it hit him. His phone wasn't just distracting him. It was designing his reality. He used to think he didn't have time to study English. But that morning, as he stared at his screen for 40 minutes doing nothing important, a quiet shame crept in. The kind of shame you feel when you realize it's not about time, it's about attention. And attention, he now understood, was the true currency of his dreams. English wasn't hard. It was just competing with endless noise. He noticed something deeper. Every time he tried to study, he'd feel bored within 5 minutes. Not because English was boring, but because his brain had been trained to expect entertainment every 5 seconds. He had developed what psychologists call dopamine dependency. His attention span was like a broken mirror, sharp, scattered, painful to use. That was the day he finally saw it. The phone didn't just distract him, it reprogrammed him. He remembered the dream he had years ago, to speak English fluently, to travel, to apply for jobs abroad, maybe even start a YouTube channel one day. But those dreams needed focus. And now, he couldn't even focus for 5 minutes without checking if someone had liked his story. The painful truth, he wasn't losing his dreams because of English. He was losing them because of his habits. So that day he made a decision, a small one. A silent rebellion. He left his phone outside the room and took a notebook. He wrote just one sentence in English. My attention is my life. It was shaky. The grammar wasn't perfect, but something inside him felt alive again. He was finally creating, not just consuming. He was speaking again, to himself, not the internet. The next morning he did something even smaller, 60 seconds of English before touching his phone. Just 1 minute of reading aloud. It felt awkward, but it also felt sacred. For the first time, he felt like he was choosing his life instead of reacting to it. It was like his brain was learning how to breathe again, in silence, with presence, in English. Then something strange happened. The more he practiced English with presence, the more peaceful he became. The phone wasn't as attractive anymore, because when your mind starts to feel clear, chaos loses its power. The same 10-minute lesson he once avoided, now it felt like a doorway. A doorway back to himself, and to the future he thought he lost. He didn't become fluent overnight, but something more important happened. He stopped running from silence. He learned how to sit with a page, with a sentence, with himself. And in that space, English became more than a language. It became a mirror, a way to return to who he really was, before the noise, before the numbness, before the scrolling. But that was only the beginning. If you want to make sure your English never improves, keep checking your phone every time you feel a little uncomfortable. Let silence scare you. Let boredom make your fingers scroll. Because here's the truth, fluency isn't about talent, it's about attention. And your attention is being hijacked, not stolen. You're the one handing it over, one swipe at a time. If you want your dreams to move further and further away, then yes, study English with notifications on. Let your study time compete with dopamine machines. Try to memorize vocabulary while hearing message pings and TikTok sounds. You'll feel busy but not better. You'll feel tired but not transformed. That's how people stay stuck for years thinking they're practicing when they're just distracted. If you want your confidence to disappear, keep watching 15-second videos instead of finishing one deep English lesson. Choose speed over depth. Keep chasing quick learning tricks and ignore the real truth. The brain grows when it finishes things, not when it flips between 100 pieces of unfinished effort. Your fluency dies not from laziness, but from fragmentation. And if you want your future to shrink, avoid silence, avoid focus, avoid the boring, slow parts of learning, because those parts are the gold. The part where you read one English paragraph slowly, the part where you whisper a sentence 5 times until it sticks. These are the invisible moments that build visible fluency. But your brain won't taste this progress if it's constantly interrupted. Let's be real. We all say we want to speak English better. But do we really protect the space to grow? Imagine trying to plant a seed in a storm. It won't grow. And your mind is the same. Constant notifications. That's a storm. Emotional chaos from social media. That's a storm. You need stillness. You need shelter. You need silence to grow roots. Try this today. One English activity. Just one. And do it with your phone on airplane mode. No music. No background drama, just you, your voice, and one English sentence you care about. Maybe it's, I believe in my future. Maybe it's, I am building discipline now. Say it, mean it. Let it echo inside your mind until it becomes yours. The hard truth, you can't win your future with the same habits that are destroying your present. You can't speak English clearly if your mind is being scrambled 10 times an hour. Want to move forward? Then protect your focus like you protect your dreams, because they are the same thing. The phone doesn't have to be the enemy, but your habits, those need to change. And if you're not ready to change yet, that's okay. But just know, every "I'll start tomorrow" is a memory you'll never get back. Every "just one more scroll" is one less step toward the life you want. And while the future waits patiently, your distractions won't. They will keep pulling. Unless you stop them, unless you rise, unless you remember the price of your dreams is your attention, but the price of your distraction. That story continues. He always told himself he'd practice English later, after dinner, after one more video, after checking just one more thing. But later never came. Instead, the screen took over. What started as 5 minutes of scrolling turned into 2 hours of vanishing time. He wasn't lazy. He was just caught in a blackout, a mental fog created by pixels and noise. And the worst part? He didn't even notice it happening. Every night he felt it, that heavy guilt in his chest, that voice whispering, "You didn't do what you said you would." His notebook stayed blank, his English app unopened. He wasn't failing because he couldn't learn. He was failing because he never truly started. The promise to himself became a lie, and over time, even he stopped believing in his own intentions. But something shifted one night. It was quiet. No big speech, no big plan, just a tiny decision. He left his phone charging in the kitchen, sat at his desk, opened a page, read one paragraph in English. He stumbled, mispronounced words, felt silly, but then something clicked. He felt alive. Not because of the English, but because he finally kept a promise to himself. That moment changed everything. He realized he wasn't weak. He wasn't incapable. He was just distracted, For the first time in months, he saw his own strength, not in fluency, not in vocabulary, but in the act of showing up, just 10 minutes. That's all it took to remember. The real enemy wasn't the language, it was the habit of postponing. The days that followed were not perfect, but they were intentional. Each morning he practiced English before touching his phone. Sometimes 5 minutes, sometimes 15. No music, no tabs open, just pure attention. His mind began to feel stronger, more alert. He even started enjoying it. The silence, the rhythm, the learning. It was like he was waking up from a long sleep. Within 3 weeks, something beautiful happened. His focus returned. He no longer needed a motivation video to study. He just did it, because it became part of who he was. And as his focus grew, so did his confidence. He started shadowing videos, repeating sentences with clarity. Words that once felt scary started to feel like tools. He was building fluency, yes, but more than that, he was building trust in himself. He looked back at his phone habits and saw it clearly now. The phone never took his dreams away. It just made it easy to forget them. Every scroll was like dust covering a mirror. Now, with each moment of focus, he was cleaning that mirror, seeing his own reflection again, remembering the young man who once dreamed of speaking fluently, traveling, teaching, inspiring. That dream never died. It just got buried. And the more he practiced with presence, the more his life began to change. Job opportunities, conversations, unexpected compliments from people who noticed his improvement. But even more than that, the way he looked in the mirror began to change. Not because he sounded perfect, but because he showed up perfectly imperfect. And just when he thought the story had reached its turning point, he discovered something even deeper was waiting underneath it all. Here's the truth most people never hear. Your brain isn't weak. It's overwhelmed. It's not addicted to your phone. It's addicted to avoiding pain. Every time you feel stress, confusion, or discomfort, your brain looks for an exit. And the easiest one? That glowing screen in your hand. It's not the phone itself that pulls you in. It's the feeling of relief it offers. That moment of escape. Learning English? It's uncomfortable. You make mistakes. You feel slow. You feel like a beginner again. And your brain doesn't like that. So it says, let's check a message first, or just a short break. But those breaks become black holes. Because the discomfort you escaped, it didn't go away. It just got buried. And every time you avoid that discomfort, your tolerance for growth gets weaker. This is called the stress avoidance loop. Your brain starts linking English learning with emotional pain, embarrassment, shame, fear of failure. And without realizing it, your brain builds an unconscious habit. Avoid English, feel safe. This is why so many people say, I want to learn, but never start. It's not laziness, it's wiring. But the good news? Wiring can be rewritten. So how do you break the loop? With something called conscious discomfort. It means doing the hard thing on purpose, but doing it gently, like reading one English sentence aloud, even if your voice shakes, like shadowing one video, even if you mess up, like saying, yes, this is awkward, but I'm doing it anyway. These small moments reprogram your brain to link growth with courage, not fear. Another dangerous trap is dopamine hijacking. Phones give instant rewards, likes, laughs, messages. But English, it gives long-term rewards, clarity, confidence, opportunity. The problem is, your brain always chooses the faster reward, so you have to flip the system. Delay the dopamine. Say to yourself, I will check my phone after I study for 5 minutes. It sounds small, but it's a revolution. There's also something called attention fragmentation. Every time a notification pulls you away, your brain has to restart its focus from zero. Imagine trying to build a house, but someone keeps knocking down the walls. That's what happens when you try to learn with distractions. The solution? Remove just one distracting app from your home screen, just one. You don't need to delete it, just make it harder to reach. But the most dangerous thing your phone steals isn't time, it's identity. Every moment you avoid English, you're not just avoiding language, you're avoiding the version of yourself who speaks it, the version who travels, teaches, applies, connects, grows, and every time you scroll instead, you're slowly letting that version of you fade, not because you're lazy, but because you're disconnected. So try this. Write down your future identity in English, not a goal, a sentence, something like, I am someone who speaks English with confidence, or I am learning English because I have a global future. Read it every morning. Let your brain see it, believe it, build it. Because the escape will always be available, but so will your evolution. And now something even deeper is being revealed. Did you enjoy the content and it made a difference for you? Click on Super Thanks and support our work. It doesn't happen all at once. Your life doesn't collapse in a single day. It dissolves silently through tiny decisions. You postpone the lesson. You skip the reading. You scroll instead of speak. And in the moment it feels harmless. But these moments aren't neutral. They stack. And one day you look up and ask yourself, where did my time go? The answer is simple. It went where your focus went. Every time you say later, your dream takes a step back, not because it's walking away from you, but because you're walking away from it. 1,000 tiny laters become a year of lost progress. And here's the tragedy. No one else sees it happening. You smile, you look fine, but inside your ambition is starving, and all it's asking for is your attention. The most dangerous part? You don't even feel it right away. It's a soft decay. You still watch English videos, you still say you want to improve, but deep down you're avoiding yourself, because learning a language isn't just about grammar, it's about identity. And sometimes we scroll, not because we're interested, but because we're lonely. We don't want to face the silence that shows us how disconnected we've become. Here's the twist. Your brain isn't hungry for entertainment. It's hungry for meaning. That's why you feel empty after hours of scrolling, even if the videos were fun. But when you study one paragraph with intention, something shifts. You feel rooted, you feel proud, you feel alive, because your soul recognizes when you're moving toward your purpose. Even if it's just one English sentence at a time. Try this. Instead of saying, I'll study later, define your 10-minute daily English ritual. Make it sacred. Light a candle. Wear headphones. Say out loud, this is my time. Choose a short scene from a graded reader. Shadow one voice. Write one emotional sentence. It doesn't have to be impressive. It just has to be real. That's how fluency is built. In stillness, not noise. Discipline gets a bad reputation. People think it means restriction, but true discipline is self-respect in action. It says, I care enough about my future to show up today. It's not about intensity, it's about identity. Fluent people don't practice when they feel like it. They practice because it's who they are. And that kind of commitment, it builds a foundation that no distraction can shake. Now pause. Ask yourself, what have your distractions really cost you? Not just time, not just energy, but moments. Moments where you could have spoken up in a meeting, applied for that job, said yes to something beautiful. The saddest part, most people never know how close they were to a breakthrough, because they were too busy refreshing their feed. But here's the beauty. Your life can begin again the moment your focus returns. Not tomorrow, not next year. Now. All it takes is one moment of clarity, one silent breath before a study session, one declaration, my dreams deserve my attention. And when you start showing up like that, the brain doesn't just remember, it rewires. But what if that rewiring was more powerful than you ever imagined? Your brain is not fixed. It's not frozen. It's not a machine that simply processes information. It's alive. It's listening, and every time you choose to study English instead of scrolling, you are not just learning, you are literally changing the architecture of your mind. Tiny wires reroute, new patterns form, identity shifts begin. This isn't motivation, this is neuroscience. There's a part of your brain called the prefrontal cortex. It's responsible for focus, decisions, and self-control. Every time you resist the urge to check your phone, that part gets stronger. Think of it like a muscle. And every time you practice English with full attention, no distractions, that muscle grows. That's how discipline is born. Not through force, but repetition. It starts with something as simple as 3 deep breaths before unlocking your screen. Yes, just that, because the pause rewires the impulse. You train your brain to observe instead of obey. You are not your urges. You are the person choosing what happens next. And that choice, it's power. A power most people never realize they have. Now imagine this, 5 minutes of deep English focus. No background noise, no switching tabs, just reading one short text or shadowing one voice. Neuroscientists call this deep work. And here's the secret. 5 minutes of deep work beats 2 hours of distracted effort. It compounds, it sticks, and it builds something no app can give you, mental sovereignty. There's a formula that changes everything. Repetition plus silence, fluency. Not fluency in language only, fluency in thinking, fluency in responding, not reacting, fluency in who you want to be. So try this. Pick one short audio, listen to it once, then again. Same voice, same rhythm. Let your mind absorb instead of rush. That stillness, that's when the wiring happens. Now here's the most powerful part. Your brain becomes whatever you do consistently. If you scroll all day, your identity becomes passive, reactive, fragmented. But if you finish what you start, even a 3-minute English video, your brain starts to say, this is who we are now. Identity isn't found, it's built, and you build it one choice at a time. So create an identity ritual. Wake up, whisper, I'm someone who finishes things, not perfectly, not always confidently, but consistently. You are not chasing motivation anymore. You're building a pattern, one that tells your brain, I'm in charge now. And when your brain believes you, nothing stays the same. Because what happens when a distracted mind becomes a focused one? What happens when a reactive identity becomes intentional? Everything changes, not just in language, but in life. And if that's possible, what else is? At first, people didn't notice much. He still spoke with an accent. He still paused to find the right words. But something was different. His eyes weren't wandering. His mind wasn't scattered. He was present. And that presence changed everything. You could feel it in his voice, steady, grounded, intentional. Not perfect English, but powerful energy. What most learners never realize is this: fluency begins with presence. When your mind is calm, your mouth finds the words. When you're not rushing, not comparing, not distracted, vocabulary returns, clarity returns, and with them, confidence returns. Not because your grammar is flawless, but because your brain is finally available to learn. He started doing something simple. Before speaking, he paused. Just one breath. Then he would say one English sentence, slowly, clearly, fully present. Like, today I will try again. Or, I'm not perfect, but I'm growing. These weren't language exercises. They were identity affirmations. And they built something more important than fluency. Belief. And soon, others noticed. Friends said he sounded more confident. Teachers said he seemed more focused. At work, people listened when he spoke, even if he made mistakes. Because when you take your focus seriously, people take you seriously. Energy speaks louder than words. And now his energy said, I'm here. I'm intentional. I'm growing. He did something bold. He revisited the English task he had been avoiding for months, recording himself speaking. He felt nervous. His voice trembled, but he did it anyway. And when he watched it back, he didn't criticize himself. He smiled. Because for the first time, he didn't see someone who was behind. He saw someone who was becoming. Then came the opportunities. A job interview where he answered without freezing. A conversation with a native speaker where he didn't translate in his head. He just spoke. These weren't lucky moments. They were echoes of all the silent focus sessions, all the quiet, boring daily rituals, all the times he chose discipline over distraction. They added up. Now, English didn't feel like a mountain. It felt like a path that was his to walk. No rush, no shame, just steady steps forward. And more importantly, it didn't just transform his English. It transformed the way he lived. More awareness, more intention, less panic, less escape. That's what real learning does. It doesn't just upgrade your skill, it upgrades your state. But what if the transformation didn't end there? What if at the core of all this there was one last realization waiting, one that didn't just explain the past, but unlocked the future? There came a quiet moment. No drama, no big breakthrough. Just a whisper inside his mind. What did I really lose? Not just hours, but moments of meaning. Not just time, but the version of himself that could have grown. The dream he kept postponing wasn't dead. It was just buried under a mountain of interruptions. And finally, he was ready to dig it out. He asked himself again, what do I need now? Not more motivation. He had watched hundreds of motivational videos, and still hadn't changed. What he needed was a boundary, a rule, a sacred space, just for English, just for him. No distractions allowed. He grabbed a piece of paper and wrote it down. No phone during English time, even for 1 minute. That wasn't a restriction, it was freedom. Then came the real question, who am I becoming? He didn't want to be the person who kept saying, I'll try, and never tried. He wanted to be the one who followed through, even when tired, even when progress felt slow. So he looked in the mirror and spoke clearly in English. My discipline is louder than my impulses. That sentence felt like a key. It unlocked something ancient inside him, ownership. He started doing something most people never try. Every night, he recorded a 20-second English reflection, just one sentence about his day. No pressure, no performance. Sometimes it was simple, like, today I studied for 5 minutes. Other times it was emotional. Today I didn't feel strong, but I showed up anyway. And through that simple habit, he rewrote the story of who he was. He realized now he was never truly afraid of English. He was afraid of beginning, afraid of silence, afraid of facing how much time he had lost. But now he wasn't afraid anymore, because he understood reclaiming your focus is the same as reclaiming your future. And fluency? Fluency is just a result of presence, practiced over time. He thought about the old version of himself, the one who couldn't sit still for 2 minutes without reaching for his phone. That version still existed, but now it didn't control him. It didn't define him. Because every time he chose focus, he was casting a new vote for his future. And the more he voted, the clearer his identity became. Someone who finishes what he starts. Now he no longer saw English as a task. He saw it as a mirror. Every session was a reflection of who he was becoming. Every mistake was a teacher. Every sentence was a step forward. And suddenly what used to feel heavy felt holy. This wasn't about grammar anymore. This was about growth. And as he closed his notebook that night, phone still in the other room, he smiled, not because he was fluent, but because he was free. And now something new was beginning. Not a dream, not a fantasy, but a path he could walk, one focused moment at a time. You've seen it now, haven't you? It was never just about English. It was about the moments you kept giving away, to distraction, to noise, to habits that slowly erased your future. But the real story, your story, begins here. Not with a perfect sentence, not with a flawless accent, but with a quiet decision. I choose to take my focus back. So let me ask you, what will you do with your next 10 minutes? Will you scroll again? Or will you open your mouth, speak one sentence in English, and reclaim a part of yourself? Because fluency isn't just about language, it's about identity, discipline, power. It's about creating a mind that's ready to carry the life you dream of. This channel isn't just here to teach you English. It's here to walk with you through fear, through distraction, through doubt, all the way to fluency and freedom. So if this story touched something inside you, subscribe to the channel, like this video, leave a comment. What truth did this story wake up in you? And turn on notifications so you never miss another story that grows your English and your mind. Because this is more than learning English. This is about rebuilding your life, one focused sentence at a time.